and other teachers complaining about our education system. When George W. Bush was governor, his administration established standardized testing as a method to hold students, teachers, and schools accountable. That sounded very reasonable to me, but since then, I hear educators complaining because now we just teach to the test, is what they say. I always ask them what specific plan they would propose that we could enact into law, but I have received no specific answers. If you're elected governor, what is your approach to improve our children's education?
Well, first thing, I've always been for more data rather than less, including what, to use a fancy word, disaggregated data, which means you can go down to the classroom as far as I'm concerned. And we ought to have data that is meaningful. And what's meaningful? The purpose of schools is to teach people the critical thinking and problem solving and reading and writing ability to succeed in higher education. And for many people, the technical and vocational skills in order to have careers that provide independence and self-sufficiency. That's the end. So whenever you set up an accountability system, you should keep that end in mind. If this operation tested each employee on something that was irrelevant to either the unit cost or the quality of the product, or not relevant, that was not what you're ultimately trying to do, the unit cost or quality of the way you manufacture, then you would be going in the wrong direction. Now look, there were bipartisan educational reforms that did have this culture of benchmarking and the idea that performance, what's measured, could improve. Don't have any problem with that. Didn't at the time. But I'll tell you, it occurred shortly after Governor Bush left the office, and he did devote time and energy to education, and on the campaign trail, frequently I commend that. It was done under a succession of governors that involved members of the business community on public school accountability and reform. But then the ball was dropped, and let me give you an example. One idea, I'd always been against the idea of social promotion, and that was part of the reforms that were instituted in the 1990s. But part of the plan was that you would bring those kids up to grade level and have some plan to help them recover it so that there would be, I can tell you the statistic of somebody who's taking ninth grade the third time, they will drop out. Overwhelming odds are. And there's things that have been shown to work. They're old-fashioned. We used them during Katrina. Summer school and after-school tutoring to bring people. Now, you can't recover everybody. There's some people with both parents are incarcerated. My God, there's people who make the worst decision of their life at the very age that they're in the least worst position to make the right decision with all the anger. But I can tell you this, that I've been in schools where they've done after-school programs and even had parallel tracks to bring people up to grade level, and that can succeed. And there's more. What I would do is a process. Don't believe anybody who sits up here and says, well, I know all the answers of how we build an accountability system that frees the teachers from what it is pressure right now to teach to the test. And I tell you that it is big and hard, and parents and educators get it. I can tell you what the results are. The results are that the one-size-fits-all program, combined with a top-down 4x4 curriculum, has caused people to shed vocational and educational programs in public schools, and it has caused a sharp rise in entering freshmen going to 4-year and 2-year colleges that need remedial work, because when you give them a set of books and a reading list and lectures and have them write an essay, they do not know how to do it. And that's wrong. I don't believe in using schools as a political prop. I believe in listening to parents and educators to constantly improve and find out what. And in answer to your question, the precise wording of it, what would I write into law? I do not believe that sometimes there are things that ought to be written into law. You ought to do it with leadership and management. The problem with the professional politician, they think they can sign a bill saying no child is left behind, and then it's done. And if you think about it, sometimes that occurs with people who call themselves conservative as well as moderate and liberal. I think real leadership is mobilizing the community, is comparing best practices, is listening to educators and school board members, allowing innovation in school boards rather than this one-size-fits-all top-down. That's what I think. And what that means on accountability standard, we need a broad-based group, including educators and many others, and employers, and those who are dealing with the people who are college-bound, that tell us how we best measure the following thing, which is, after all, what we want to measure. How are the kids doing in school or in the workplace a year, 2 years after they get out of school, right? That's ultimately what we want to measure.
Texas has the longest border with Mexico, obviously the most difficult and expensive to secure. Countless illegal aliens continue to flow across our border, not to mention that huge amounts of money continue flowing back to Mexico without any tax money staying here. What have we been doing about this problem? Are we receiving enough federal money? And what will you do about it as governor?
Okay.